Let's now get to our top story of this hour in the news in detail. European Parliament's Committee on Foreign Affairs will discuss the worsening situation in Indian-occupied Kashmir today. Azad Jammu and Kashmir's Prime Minister Raja Farooq Haider will brief the body. Farooq Haider will also meet British parliamentarians in London after the EU discussion. Speaking to media, Haider appreciated the U.S. House Committee on Foreign Affairs resolution to discuss the valley's current situation. Meanwhile, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has expressed hope that the EU will play its role against Indian atrocities. Pakistan says it will grant consular access to Indian spy commander Kulbhushan Yadav today. Foreign Office spokesman Mohammad Faisal said the decision is taken in accordance with the ICJ ruling. Yadav was arrested from Pakistan's southwestern Balochistan province in 2016. He was sentenced to death by a court on charges of espionage and terrorism. In July, the International Court of Justice rejected India's plea to acquit Yadav of spying charges. Well, Pakistan and Afghanistan have begun opening their biggest border crossing 24 hours a day on a trial basis. Officials from both sides have held a flag meeting to discuss security measures and trade affairs. The Torkham border crossing used to be open for only 8 to 10 hours each day. Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Information Minister Shaukat Yousafzai says the trial will continue for 2 to 3 weeks. He says the trial run is to remove any teething troubles from the system, before its formal opening by Prime Minister Imran Khan. The decision to open the border crossing was taken in June during President Ashraf Ghani's visit to Pakistan. In Afghanistan itself, the Taliban claim they have killed 25 government troops in Paktia and Ghazni provinces. The fighters had already launched assaults on Kunduz and Baghlan provinces, killing over 60 people in the last 2 days. Spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid says the group attacked an army convoy in Paktia's Zurmat district, killing 15 soldiers. He says the fighters killed 10 other troops, including a commander in Kindi Karabakh district of Ghazni. Earlier, U.S. envoy Zalmay Khalilzad said Washington is at a threshold of an agreement with the Taliban after the end of the 9th round of talks. Khalilzad said he brought up the matter of the Taliban's renewed attacks, pressing them to bring the fighting to an end. In other news, Hezbollah and Israel have exchanged fire along the Lebanese border after a week of growing tensions. Hezbollah claims it destroyed an Israeli tank, while Israel's military retaliated by firing 100 shells into Lebanon. Iran says Hezbollah's attack on Israel was retaliation. Israel says Washington fully supports its right to self-defense. In the meantime, Bahrain has instructed its citizens to leave Lebanon immediately. Earlier, the Lebanese Prime Minister Saad Hariri asked the U.S., France, and the international community to intervene and stop the conflict. Palestine has demanded global sanctions against Israel over its existing and planned illegal settlements in the West Bank. Senior Palestinian official Saeb Erekat says Israel has been involved in systematic human rights violations and war crimes for decades. Saeb Erekat urged the world to take notice of new Jewish settlements in the occupied territories. Hanan Ashrawi says Israel is violating the UN Charter and the Rome Statute on War Crimes and Genocide. Ashrawi says Israel is pursuing a racist nation-state law that was adopted earlier this year by the Knesset. Earlier, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged to make all illegal Jewish settlements a part of Israel. Syria says the ceasefire declared by the army in northwestern Idlib province is temporary. Syria's presidential advisor, Buthayna Shaban, says the ceasefire was set up to stabilize the situation in Idlib. Shaban says the Turkish army now in parts of Idlib will be forced to leave the country. The Syrian army says it reserves the right to respond to any violation by the Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front. Russia's defense ministry has asked rebels to abandon armed resistance and join the peace process. Moscow claims Russian and Syrian warplanes have not carried out any recent raids in the region. On to Libya now, where 4 civilians have been wounded in a rocket attack on Tripoli's only functioning airport. Matiga Airport was hit by overnight fire from Khalifa Haftar's forces. The rocket attack coincided with the arrival of a Libyan plane from Saudi Arabia carrying pilgrims returning from Hajj. The health ministry says 3 passengers, including a woman, were wounded. The airport director says the runway was damaged and a Libyan Airlines plane was hit by shrapnel, putting it out of service. He said flights have been suspended until further notice. In news coming out of Hong Kong now, some 10,000 students have boycotted classes on the first day of the new school year, joining ongoing protests. Students braved the stormy weather to form human chains around their campuses. The school boycott is part of a broader anti-government campaign initially triggered by a controversial extradition bill. Earlier, masked protesters wreaked havoc at Hong Kong Airport and trashed the railway station. Police say 40 prominent activists have been arrested during the clashes. The British government, meanwhile, has launched its Get Ready for Brexit campaign. The drive aims to prepare businesses for the legal and financial realities of post-Brexit UK. Cabinet Minister Michael Gove says billboards, social media and TV adverts will appear in the coming days. Gove says the adverts would encourage shared responsibility for Brexit. Meanwhile, the opposition says it will publish a proposed law to hinder a no-deal Brexit tomorrow. But Cabinet Minister Gove has refused to guarantee that the government will abide by any such laws. In Germany, support for Chancellor Angela Merkel's coalition partners have surged in 2 state elections. The preliminary results have averted an immediate crisis for the ruling alliance of Christian Democrats and Social Democrats. The Christian Democrats remained the largest party in Saxony, but their vote share has dropped by 9.7% from the 2014 polls. The far-right Alternative for Germany came second. The AfD harnessed voter anger over refugees and the planned closure of coal mines in the former communist Eastern Germany. The ruling party's setbacks are not as serious as feared, and the results alleviate some pressure on Merkel's national coalition. The parties are due to review the coalition, weakened by rows over migrant policy, tax and pensions by the year's end. In India, almost 2 million people from the state of Assam have been taken off the National Register of Citizens. This follows a years-long exercise against illegal immigration, which critics say disproportionately targets Muslims. The UN has called the move a major blow to the global fight against statelessness. More in this report.
Last year, 33 million of Assam's citizens submitted their documents to local officials for the National Register of Citizens. However, nearly 2 million people, mostly Muslims, have been left off the register. Even the families of government employees have not been spared.
Yes, we are having many problems and I feel like crying as well. But what can I do? I don't know what the NRC officials have done till now. The way they are making the list, whether it's true or legal or illegal, we do not know anything.
The
villagers taunt us. Even if we go out, they say despite coming from a renowned family, we do not have our name in the NRC. They talk to us like this. It feels bad when we hear this.
This is just the latest in a long chain of anti-minority developments in India that have taken place in recent years. Cow vigilantism and attacks on Muslims, Christians and Dalits have been on the rise ever since Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power. What remains to be seen is how much deeper India will go down the Hindutva rabbit hole.
Myanmar's army says it will court-martial soldiers for atrocities committed in the country's northern Rakhine state in 2017. Over 700,000 Rohingya Muslims fled the state after a brutal military operation. A military court visited the northern state and found soldiers had violated orders from the top and committed war crimes. But a previous military investigation in 2017 exonerated security forces of any wrongdoing. Last year, a UN fact-finding mission said the military campaign was orchestrated with genocidal intent. The report recommended charging Army Chief Min Aung Hlaing and 5 other generals with the gravest crimes under international law. Hurricane Durian has slammed into the northwest Bahamas as a catastrophic Category 5 storm. Packing 185 miles per hour winds, Durian has crashed onshore in the Abacos Islands today. The U.S. National Hurricane Center says it is the strongest ever hurricane recorded in that area. Thousands of Grand Bahama residents have been evacuated from its predicted path. Officials say parts of the Abacos are underwater, with the storm surge hitting as high as 23 feet. The southeastern U.S. states of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina have also ordered mass evacuations.
The strength of this storm cannot be underestimated. We will see tropical force winds within the next 48 hours. The National Hurricane Center reports Durian could nearly stall over the Bahamas for more than 24 hours starting late tonight.
All right, coming up next in this bulletin, a circus is adding a high-tech spin to its traditional performances. And Switzerland's Stan Wawrinka has defeated world number 1. The concrete industry is one of the biggest environmental strains on the planet. According to the UN, between 40 and 50 billion tons of sand and gravel are extracted around the world for construction purposes each year. This includes Cyprus, where quarries are putting the livelihood of local shepherds at risk. This report has more.
Jamal has roamed these slopes for years, but these mountains are no longer safe for him or his animals. Ever since the area has been taken over by quarries, vegetation has disappeared from the area and the air is thick with dust.
I have to run away from this place because I'm always in danger with every explosion. When I am unaware that the explosion is taking place, the rocks fall like rain on my animals and sometimes even on me. I'm getting injured.
Worldwide concrete consumption has tripled over the past 2 decades, with the global population expected to reach 2 billion by 2050. Demand is likely to rise further. Environmentalists warn this is a disaster in the making.
One day the quarries will end because there will be no more rocks, stones or mountains to dig up. What will we do then? We won't even have the time to ask the questions because everything will be gone. Measures need to be taken today.
Stakeholders in Cyprus' concrete industry have a different take on the matter.
Today the island is fed by tourism, so we need hotels, guest houses, roads and airports, so we don't have any other choice than to exploit the quarries.
On Cyprus's eastern coast, a 2,500-room hotel and several apartment buildings are popping up. Advertisements in English and Russian pitch the area as a place of happiness. Tourists may enjoy these apartments and hotel rooms in the summer, but they have cost Jamal, the shepherd, his lifelong home.
A circus in Montreal is adding a high-tech spin to its traditional performances. But acrobats, clowns, and trained animals are still a big of the circus spectacle, enjoyed by children and adults alike. Find out how in this report.
Canada's Cirque du Soleil is going up a notch, this time tapping into Quebec's rich animation and video game production talent. Two strange white pyramids have sprouted in Quebec this summer, an edgy 21st century big top. They are part of the latest act from Guy Laliberte's esteemed circus. The troupe's latest show blends acrobatics and multimedia flair with vibrant sounds, lasers, and 360-degree projections.
The city has become the world's central center of expertise in creation, but also in production. There are a lot of talented and experienced technicians who are based here in Montreal.
The company's first show, Through the Echoes, tells the story of the universe from its creation all the way to the present day. Bosch Dreams, which first appeared at the Montreal Cirque Festival in July, is attempting to blend technology, theater, and art. It brings to life the best-known work of Dutch painter Hieronymus Bosch using digital animation.
Today we create shows by also seeking expertise in the field of video games, and we start to merge to break down barriers between people who come from the world of entertainment, the world of circus, the world of theater, and the world of video games to create new forms of entertainment.
The circus company is always looking for the brightest young minds to add a new inventive flavor to its shows.
The strength is that the National Circus School puts a lot of emphasis on technique, and so they develop artists still have a high level of acrobatic training and a high level of caliber. And to that, they add as much as possible an artistic quality. They will try to give words all that.
In the autumn, these white pyramids will arrive in Miami, where audiences will watch virtual actors and acrobats with augmented reality glasses.
The U.S. trade organization says the fresh list of tariffs on Chinese imports is the worst economic mistake in decades. The Consumer Technology Association represents over 2,000 U.S. tech companies. The association president, Gary Shapiro, says the taxes will badly hurt U.S. consumers and negatively affect its economy. He says the trade war with China has cost the consumer technology industry more than $10 billion. The Consumer Technology Association says the new tariffs will not help reach a meaningful trade agreement. Earlier, the U.S. and China hit each other with new tariffs on thousands of their products. Well, expectedly, global stocks have fallen after the U.S. and China reinforced investors' worries by imposing new tariffs on each other. The S&P 500 dived over 1%. London's FTSE dipped almost 0.5%. Japan's Nikkei and Hong Kong's HIS both registered losses, but Shanghai's SSE shot up over 1% against the downward trend. South Korea's Kospi, too, gained marginally. Meanwhile, the yen strengthened today. Gold, too, rose by the most in almost a week as investors sought to minimize investment risks. Time now to find out what the weather is like around the world. And with that, you're all caught up. Thank you for watching this bulletin. Here are the listeners.